listening to the Habits for Success podcast with award-winning author, actor, four-time Ironman triathlete, coach, and TEDx speaker, G. Brian Benson, where he chats up inspiring, creative, and thought-provoking authors, athletes, actors, artists, and entrepreneurs from all walks of life as they share their stories, success habits, struggles, and wisdom that propelled them to their own unique version of success. Be prepared each episode to be inspired, learn something new, and have some helpful takeaways that will provide insight, empowerment, and tools to live your best life.
Welcome to this week's episode of Habits for Success, the podcast. I hope this finds you well. I'm your host, G. Brian Benson, and this week's habit for success that I want to share is get creative. Did you know that creativity is considered the highest form of intelligence? Sure, we need to have knowledge, but to keep taking steps into the unknown and to truly let our highest realms of possibility come through us, we need to exercise our creative abilities. We are all creative at some level. Some folks might be able to express their creativity through painting, while another expresses it playing the guitar, and yet another through writing. The important thing is that we are expressing ourselves. When we create, we are allowing a force greater than anything we ever thought possible to flow through us and express the divine. Being creative can also act as a form of meditation. I can easily get lost in the rhythm of creation. It's not surprising that there's now a big market for adult coloring books. To be able to joyfully get lost in a coloring book or while creating something original can be very grounding. It is also a wonderful way to strengthen your foundation. It doesn't matter if your painting is up to the standards of a Van Gogh or that your poem matches the brilliance of Walt Whitman. All that matters is that you are expressing yourself. My friend Kimberly had been a writer her whole life. After her husband died, she studied occupational therapy and eventually wrote a book for children with advice about coping with grief that used both her writing and OT skills. She realized that she would need pictures to go with it. She then painted what she thought would be a good cover to give an illustrator an idea of what she wanted. After being pleasantly surprised by what she created, she ended up painting all the illustrations for the book. She laughed that it took her a week to write the book and 2 years to paint the 14 canvases. She said the skill just grew itself. She improved so much in 2 years that she had to go back and repaint some of the earlier canvases because they didn't look like the same artist. Kimberly took her new creative skill and started teaching acrylic painting at a local craft store. Currently, she is teaching art and music to kids with disabilities using her OT skills again. She felt that her book project magically pulled her through all the steps to get to her current teaching position. And to think that she never painted or drew until she was in her 50s when she illustrated the book, incredible. That definitely proves the point that it is never too late to be creative. Not sure where to start? Just experiment. I certainly didn't expect to become a writer after I left my family business, but there came a point where I felt like I had something to say and I began to experiment. First with rhyming children's stories, poetry, and then self-help books. You are no different. Go take a drawing course, an acting class, or a writing workshop. See what happens. Pay attention to how it makes you feel. Don't be afraid to express yourself in ways that you may never have expected. Listen to your intuition and follow the joy it brings you. I have found that I am happiest when I am being creative. It is one of the few times when I know I am doing exactly what I am supposed to be doing, and I can get out of my head and just be at total peace. It's never too late to create. You may just surprise yourself. What are some ways that you enjoy expressing yourself creatively? And now on to today's guest. Samba Schutte is a Dutch-Mauritanian actor, comedian, and writer who was born in the Sahara Desert and grew up in Ethiopia until the age of 18. He's known for playing Hakeem on the new NBC comedy Sunnyside, airing Thursdays, starting September 26th at 9:30 p.m. after The Good Place. Schutte is also known for the Netflix film The Tiger Hunter, which is a wonderful romantic comedy. Samba speaks 4 languages: English, French, Dutch, and Amharic. I hope I said that right, which is Ethiopian. And he was also a writer and correspondent for the Dutch version of The Daily Show. Residing in Los Angeles, Samba continues to perform stand-up comedy next to his acting, voiceover, and video game motion capture work. Welcome, Samba.
Thank you, man. Thanks for that intro.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure. It's very impressive.
Thanks.
There's so much I want to talk about and dive into, but let's just start with your brand new series, Sunnyside.
Sunny Side.
Yeah, what is the show about, and what can we expect from it?
So, Sunny Side is co-created by Kal Penn, who's of course known from the Harold and Kumar movies and How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, and Designated Survivor.
And Designated Survivor. There you go.
Yeah.
And he's of course worked for the Obama administration. He worked for the White House, and so he's got this comedic and political background. And he co-created this show with Matt Murray and Michael Schur, who are known for The Good Place, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, The Office.
Wow, so a great track record.
Yeah, and David Miner, who worked on 30 Rock. So it's like these amazing comedy geniuses came together to create this comedy, and it's about Sunnyside is a neighborhood in Queens. It's a very diverse neighborhood in Queens. And the story is about Garrett Modi, who's a former New York City councilman, who is hired by a group of hopefuls, immigrants, who dream of becoming American citizens. So he helps them to become citizens to fulfill their American dream. But in the meantime, of course, there's all these obstacles and challenges that come with trying to do that. So it's a very patriotic comedy. But it's topically relevant because it's about immigration. Sure. But at the same time, it's a comedy and on NBC, so it's very relatable to everybody. So I think it's a show that is for everyone. It's more than anything, you will laugh. But at the same time, we hope that it'll highlight also the sensibilities on important civics-related topics and basically something that's relevant right now.
I can't wait to watch it. The trailers were very funny, and
thank you.
Yeah, no, you're great. Yeah. What was the audition process like?
So I got the audition in February, and the breakdown said looking for the original breakdown was a Somalian taxi driver who speaks fluent English but with a little bit of an accent and should be really strong in comedy. I was like, okay, I can do that because I grew up in Ethiopia. Yeah. I grew up in Ethiopia, which is right next to Somalia. So I was like, okay, we can do this. So I go in and I see that the casting director is Allison Jones, and she is the queen of comedy. She's cast like all the major comedies, like Bridesmaids. She's done all the major comedies with Judd Apatow and all these kind of things. And so she's known for doing comedy. But what I realized is also that she cast shows like The Golden Girls, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, all these iconic comedy shows that I grew up watching in Ethiopia. In Ethiopia, we had one TV channel, and sometimes they'd air American shows, and it happened to be Fresh Prince of Bel-Air or Golden Girls. So that was cast by Allison Jones. So I walk into the audition room, and I see Allison, and I'm like, it was my first time meeting her. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so happy to be here because you have no idea. I grew up watching your shows in Ethiopia. And immediately that intrigued her. She's like, wait, what? So I told her my story, growing up in Ethiopia, watching Golden Girls, watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and how this was so fun. So she's like, okay, we'll talk later. So I did the scene. They liked it a lot. And she immediately asked me about my story. And so I told her where I grew up and how I moved to America. And she's like, oh my God, the producers are going to love you. You're coming back next week for the callback. I was like, oh, thank you. So next week, callback with all the producers, Mike Schur, Matt Murray, everybody's there. And
Were you nervous?
Of course. I mean, all these comedy geniuses in one room, and you're just like, hi, I'm an actor. So of course I was nervous, but what happened was Allison helped me out a lot, because before I started auditioning, she's like, oh, so guys, you guys have to hear Samba's story. He's got a fascinating story. And so what that did was I was able to talk to these guys for about 10, 15 minutes. So they got a really clear image of who I am and where I come from, so that when I did the scene after that, it was not just them judging me on my acting, but also on the whole story that I could bring to the character. So that helped me out a lot, because that relaxed everybody, and then it gave them such a good image of who I am. And then I got to the next round, which is meeting Kal Penn and doing a chemistry read with him to see how we click. And
can I ask you a quick question? How many people do you think were left out in that third round?
Oh, probably it's between 3 guys.
Okay.
So it was me and 2 other guys.
Okay.
So we started out with, I don't know, 1,000,
Yeah.
500, and then like gone down to the 30, and then down to the last 3 or whatever. So I did my chemistry with Cal Penn. We did the scene, and he was really great, and he was really welcoming and really fun. And I wanted to create chemistry with him, so up front I chatted to him a bit. Mm-hmm. And then he was really nice and generous. And what helped was we did the scene, and then he asked if we could do it again because he wasn't comfortable with the way he did his lines. He's like, "No, I want to do this on tape, right? Because it's going to go to the network, NBC, and they're going to judge me on this performance. So
wow.
I want to make you look good." So we did the scene again, which helped a lot. And I added a little button which made everyone laugh at the end of the scene. and they're like, "Okay, great, thank you so much. We'll let you know in a day." So the whole day goes by, no news, and I'm like, "Oh man, all right, I didn't get the part, because you're supposed to find out the next day." Oh. And it's nighttime. It's 8 p.m. and I'm driving with my wife, and I see my agent call. And I'm like, "Oh man, this can be good news or bad news, because either way, they're supposed to let you know if you got it or not." But right. Someone calling at 8 p.m. is never good news. So I pick up and I go, "Hey, Kevin," and he goes, "Samba," and my heart just sinks. I'm like, "No, I know." And then he goes, "Hey, congratulations!" I'm like, you punk! Yeah. So I had to pull over and celebrate because I couldn't believe it. It was just so crazy to me that I got this part, that all the things worked to get this part, and then the better news was that they decided to make the character Ethiopian because of my story. So they changed his whole like background and arc and everything to fit mine, and so it was just like, wow, they liked my story, they liked me as a person, and to be able to represent Ethiopia and be on a show with all these comedy geniuses it was such an unbelievable honor. And I don't know how long we have, but there's more to the audition story, which when you get a pilot, there's so many other factors that it can just be taken away from you immediately. But I don't know if I want to get into that. Maybe when we talk about acting or all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm so proud of you. I mean, there's nobody that deserves success more than you, because I've known you. I've been known you for 6 years, and I think I've probably known you for maybe 5 of those.
Yeah.
And you're just such a real, kind person, and I've seen your progression. Yeah, and it's very inspiring. And
it's been nice to know you all these times. We met in a class.
Yes, we did. We did. Wow, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
No worries.
So, who have some of your heroes been, through the years? I know, you mentioned some of the shows that you watched growing up, but who were some of your acting heroes or comedy heroes that really inspired you to just, come to America?
Well, I grew up in Ethiopia, but I would watch tapes from, Eddie Murphy doing his stand-up, Delirious and Raw. And then I'd watch Richard Pryor do his stand-up, and I'd watch Jim Carrey movies, and I'd watch Robin Williams do his movies. And I was like, oh my God, these guys are geniuses. These are people that inspire me. I love their comedy because it's storytelling, but at the same time it's physical, and they get to do all these voices and impersonations. So I grew up watching those guys, and I knew I wanted to be an actor. I did not know I wanted to be a stand-up comedian as well. That came as a surprise later. But I knew I wanted to be an actor in comedic movies. Like, I wanted to make people laugh. And at the same time, when I was 12 in Ethiopia, my dad bought me this CD-ROM from Steven Spielberg called Director's Chair, basically where you got to do a movie with Steven Spielberg on the Universal Studios lot. It was an amazing CD-ROM. You got to do movies, you got to be with Steven Spielberg, you got to know what it's like to do a movie on the Universal Studios lot. And what's crazy is now I'm working on the Universal Studios lot. And so when I first walked on the lot to start shooting Sunnyside, my heart just skipped a beat, because I was like, I remember this from when I was a 12-year-old kid behind my PC doing a movie with Steven Spielberg, because his studio is there, Amblin. And I was like, this is so mind-blowing. Like, how crazy is it that what I used to dream about and then visualize is now here, happening here. So that gave me goosebumps all over the place. So Eddie
I'd be
Murphy.
shedding tears of inspiration.
No, seriously, Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor, Jim Carrey, Robin Williams, and then, of course, Steven Spielberg. And that just made me want to come here and try to make my dream come true.
I think the power of visualization is so important, and I know I can speak for it in many different times in my life, and obviously that's you're an example as well.
It works. I mean, it works. Not that I was intentionally putting it out there as a kid of 12 years old, like, when I'm 27, I'll be working, But
the seed was planted.
The powerful emotion you feel of, I would love to experience this one day, it was planted back then. And you never know how the universe will guide you to something. But it was just so serendipitous to realize that at that moment. Yeah.
That's a lovely story. So let's dip into your upbringing. You're half Dutch and half Mauritanian.
Yes.
And tell us more about that.
So my father is a white Dutch man, and my mother is a black African woman from Mauritania. And they met in Mauritania. My dad went there to do social work, and he met my mom, who was volunteering at the same organization, and they got married in Mauritania, and they got my big sister, and they got me. So I was born in Mauritania, and then when I was 2, my whole family moved to Ethiopia. Mauritania is in the Sahara Desert, and Ethiopia didn't have a great reputation in the 80s for being a utopia. But we grew up there, and and then my little sister and my little brother were born. But I grew up in Ethiopia till I was 18, so for about 16 years of my life, and I went through everything there. I went through school, kindergarten, high school. Went through my first Civil War experience, where I got evacuated on the last plane out of Ethiopia when there was a civil war, when the communist regime was being overthrown. So it's home, it's the country I consider home, because I grew up there. I have all these experiences there. I have all these deep friend connections there that I consider family. And so for me, that's home. And so I grew up there till I was 18. And then I moved to Holland to study theater, because I knew I wanted to be an actor. And there were no good universities in Africa to go to. And my dad had a Dutch family in Holland. So I moved to Holland to study theater. And at the same time, I started my comedy career in Holland. I just started doing stand-up comedy, and that went really well, to the point where I won one of the biggest national awards in Holland for comedy. And that really launched my career. Wow. As a touring comedian, and then TV and film started. But I always knew in my heart of hearts that LA was my destination.
Yeah. Wow. Let me take a half a step back. What was it like being biracial in Ethiopia? Because I'm sure you have similar, but maybe different experiences here with that same question.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, first of all, when you tell people you grew up in Ethiopia, they go, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Like, is that why you're skinny?" No, this is just a genetic thing. Ethiopia was like, I know we see all the images of the kids and the flies and everything, but it was actually very beautiful. Yes, there was some famine in the drier regions outside of the country, in the countryside, but in the city and everything, it was actually a very beautiful life. But being both half white, half black was a blessing and a curse, because having a white father showed that I'm not really African. Like, I wasn't accepted as African by the African community, because they're like, well, you're not really one of us. And then when we would hang out with the Dutch kids or European kids, they'd be like, no, you're not really one of us either. So you're kind of stuck in this middle place of, well, I'm both of you guys, but it was hard to be accepted as belonging. So yeah, there was some bullying in school because I was the outsider. There was not fitting in. And I regretted that as a kid. I was like, oh man, why, I just want to belong. I just want to be,
Sure.
But at the same time, what started evolving was my observation skills and what later became my comedy strength, which was just embracing coming from these two cultures and these two worlds, and not regretting it at all, because at the end of the day, it was a blessing because it led me to my sense of humor, my observation skills, and being able to relate to different worlds. You know,
it's really kind of honed you to become an amazing storyteller.
Well, I mean, thanks. I took the best of both worlds. You know, Africans are great storytellers, very physical. Dutch people were tall. I don't know what we contributed to the world. Slavery. we contributed slavery to the world. Good. So you're welcome. Yeah. No, but also just the rationality, the logic, and the very firm planning kind of mentality. So, I was happy to grow up with both at the end of the day. And it didn't take away from the fact that we had a beautiful home where our parents raised us to embrace all cultures, all religions, and never take our privileged, if you want to call that, position in society for granted.
Yeah. What are some of the things you've had to deal with here as an immigrant? You know, because I know obviously you kind of almost experienced it in 3 different locations. You know, yes, right? I mean,
I was an immigrant in Africa, technically speaking, because in Holland I was an immigrant, technically speaking, even though I was from there. But yeah, here, absolutely, I'm immigrant 101. I moved here 8 years ago, and moving to America is the hardest thing ever. I know people think it's so really easy to come to this country. No, you get vetted from A to Z. They find out about everything about your life. You have to fulfill in all these forms. You have to go through the embassy hoops, and then you have to go through the immigration hoops. So I first came here on an artist visa called the O1 visa, or better known as the Alien of Extraordinary Ability visa, which just sounds fantastic. But I had to get that by proving that I was an established comedian and actor in Holland. Otherwise, there was no way for me to move to America. So I had to first establish myself in Holland for 10 years. And that was enough to have enough credits and to move here. Wow. So that visa was already very demanding to get. And then when I moved here, you find out, okay, great, I have a work visa. I can work as an actor and a comedian. But what I found out when I moved here was that studios don't accept the O1 visa. They only take artists on a green card. And I was like, well, this is a work visa. Like, I proved already that I'm an actor and a comedian, established, did well, and now I'm here on a legit visa that took me forever to get. Why can't I work? They're like, no, a green card is permanent. Your visa is temporary. We don't want to take the chance. So already having run a marathon to come here, you find out, oh, my God, you have to start from scratch completely to start another marathon. And so I had to work my butt off to get my green card, which took another 5 years. So I couldn't really advance in my career until I got my green card. But to get the green card, I had to still manage to find a way to work in America in the acting and entertainment industry with enough credits to prove that, I deserve a permanent resident card. So there's a lot of obstacles to come to this country. And when you're here, you do have to work super hard and be on guard. Like, you can't break any laws. You can never get arrested because it shows up on your record. You can't mess up any forms. You have to be super on it. But I never felt like I was seen as an immigrant in America, in Los Angeles, let me say, because it's so diverse. Yes. People come from all over the place. And so I actually belonged here. I was like, oh my God, it doesn't matter where you're from, because everyone has a story in Los Angeles. Everyone's from somewhere else or has background in another country. So for once I felt, oh my God, okay, no, I fit in here because I speak English with it like everybody, and I have a mix of races like everybody. But the only thing was career-wise, I had to work super, super hard to get my green card.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I mean, here, I'm born here, and I take all that for granted.
Never had to work a day in your life.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Silver spoon and everything.
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to. So each episode, I briefly talk at the start of the show about a particular habit out of my book, Habits for Success. And today's habit that I want to talk about is get creative. And you create a lot of your own video content that is really clever and absolutely hilarious. And
thank you.
You're welcome. And I know some of it deals, with what an immigrant might be dealing with or going through, whether it's, I'm thinking of your Thanksgiving one, whether it's a holiday that they're experiencing for the first time, or dealing with Los Angeles and some of the quirks that the residents in the city have.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me more about your mindset while exploring your creativity through these videos.
Well, creativity is, I think, the core of what makes you human.
Yes.
I really believe it's the gift we've been given, and it's one we should definitely explore and do. Otherwise, you feel unfulfilled in your life. And creativity doesn't mean just in the arts. It means in expressing just yourself, whether it's like I love, hanging up a light bulb, or I love decorating the thing this way, or just something that helps you get out of the pattern of work, sleep, bills, taxes.
Sure.
So I have always loved creativity and loved making people laugh, but at the same time, visualizing where my creativity can take me. I remember I did not know how to take advantage of my being from two worlds in my comedy or in who I am as a person. So it took me going to do an internship in Kenya for 3 months, where I was in this village, in this hut, in the middle of nowhere, volunteering to help people out through theater with themes like AIDS, HIV, juveniles, refugees. But I remember being in this hut and just like no power, no running water, just a candle at night. And I remember just writing down, if anything was possible, if there was no in the world, what would I be doing? And that's just sparked so much freedom in imagination and in like possibilities. And I just started writing down, move to Los Angeles, yes, be on a TV show, yes, do movies, and be this and do that, do comedy like this. And what that did was it just laid out this plan in front of me, or not this plan, but this map of everything that was possible. And it just sparked this inspiration and this drive and this ambition, and it kept me going, because I was like, no, there's so much more I want to explore as a creative being, but these are the possibilities in me. It's just sometimes life makes you feel like those things are not possible, or that you're limited, or that you can't break out of whatever pattern you're in to be able to achieve those things. But you are. I really believe that you are. I really believe that you're gifted with amazing potential and creative potential. And I think exploring that and not feeling strapped down, even though it's definitely a risk. I mean, hey, I didn't move to America just by being like, I'm going to move to America. It was a huge risk. I risked everything. I risked my career in Holland, my connections, all the bridges were burnt when I decided to move, because I was doing really well as a comedian. And when I said, no, I want to move to America, they're like, well, you never work here again, kind of thing. But I knew that it felt right, and I knew that I had to trust this instinct, trust this possibility in me, and take a leap of faith. And I think doing that, if you're brave enough to dare to do something creative, but also take that leap of faith, I think the universe will catch you and will lead you to where you need to go.
You're definitely the poster child for that. That is, oh my gosh. Yeah, no, it's incredibly inspiring. What drives you?
Oh, making people laugh, I think, and making people realize that we're more alike than unalike. Yeah. I think that's what my stand-up comedy is about. It's always about, yes, we have all these cultural differences. Yes, there's all these culture shocks. Yes, I'm an outsider and I've observed all these things. But at the end of the day, we're not that different. And I think a show like Sunnyside shows that as well, where it's like, yes, we're all laughing. It's a comedy about these amazing people who come together, these misfits, and they have to get along like friends while they're trying to become the best version of themselves by becoming American citizens. So we're laughing with their journey and everything, but at the same time, we're learning that, hey, immigrants are just like you and me. We're just normal human beings with our hopes and our fears and our desires and our dreams. And at the end of the day, we're more alike than we are unalike. I think at the end of the day, that's my core message, that, hey, I think my African grandfather said it best, like, hey, Samba, we all have 9 holes in our body. Like 1, 2 in the eyes, 3, 4 in the nose, 5, 6 in the ears, 7 in the mouth, 8 in the kachuchu, and 9 in the kachichi. And I'll let you guess which one is which. But we all have 9 holes in our body at the end of the day. Like, we're all human. We all have our fears and our dreams and our hopes and our desires. And if you can laugh at the same time and tell people that message, I think people soak that up better than if you're pointing a finger and saying, yo, we're the same. No, making people laugh opens up their souls to receive this, information.
That's beautiful. I agree. Wow. So, let's talk a little bit about your comedy, your stand-up. That originated in the Netherlands. But I've seen you at the Comedy Store multiple times, and some of your specials, and I just absolutely love your stand-up. It is so funny, and we've already kind of touched on.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm being serious. We've already kind of touched on where you get your stories and your inspiration from that, but maybe dive into it a little bit more. For example, some of the routines that are in my head that I'm thinking of, or the vitiligo and your religion and being an immigrant. You really, it's just there's a lot of vulnerability there. And
I think what makes a good comedian, I think, is the ability to make people laugh, but the ability to be super sincere as well.
Yeah.
And so I've always tried to base my comedy off true real life experiences and observations coming from different worlds. So, for example, you mentioned vitiligo.
Yeah.
That's a disease I was diagnosed with, an autoimmune disease I was diagnosed with 4 years ago. And basically, for people who don't know it, it's when your skin starts to turn white, like you start to lose your pigmentation. And so, I was bummed because I was like, well, that's the end of my career because no one wants to see a spotted black man on TV,
Right.
But I was like, no, I got to find the positive turn to it. And I think the best way to heal anything in life is to be able to find the comedy in it, the humor in it, be able to laugh at yourself. And so I came up with a joke about vitiligo, which is basically what happens in vitiligo is that your white blood cells go around your body and kill your skin cells. So what was happening in my body was that my white blood cells were going around my body, killing my black skin cells because they thought that they were a threat. So I was like, oh my God, holy shit, my body is racist, So just being able to laugh about that, I think, helped me heal. And I can say I'm very lucky to say that, it's been healing and that I'm almost 100% healed from the vitiligo. I think partly because I was able to laugh about it, but also show people that, humor is healing and it brings people together, I think, and being super sincere about who you are. Yeah. There's a lot of comedy in there.
Absolutely. And I think it just endears you even more. I mean, because ultimately I think we all want to be authentic, right? And share ourselves. And so when somebody like yourself can do that, it gives other people permission to do the same.
Oh, I hope so. Isn't there that quote? I forgot how it is. Like, dimming your light will never inspire other people to shine theirs. I'm paraphrasing horribly here. but
I understand.
Something along that vein, like dare to shine your light because it'll give others permission to shine theirs too.
Yeah. When you went through that process of being diagnosed and stuff, I mean, obviously that must have just sucked because you sacrificed so much and to just get here and to go, you've already mentioned all the things you had to go through. Did you just kind of have to just surrender to whatever was going to happen? I mean,
oh man, it was a very tough time because I was on this visa that no one would take me, so I had to apply for my green card. And I applied for my green card, and it was right in the middle of my application process, which took 2 years because they sent my green card application to an office in Texas, and no one wants to see a birth certificate that says born in the Islamic Republic of Mauritania. Like, no one wants to see that on a birth certificate. No. So it took 2 years to get my green card. So I was in the middle of waiting on that and just not knowing, my future being very uncertain. And then getting diagnosed with this autoimmune disease, which doctors say there is no cure. So it was just a double punch in the gut of this is it. I did my best and probably my career's over unless I wear makeup for the rest of my life. And at the same time, I always believe that things happen for a reason, but you don't have to take people's words for it. For example, if I believed the doctors and just was like, there's no cure, I don't think I'd be where I am today. I really believe the body is designed to heal, and that when you do get diagnosed with something, it's your body telling you what you need to do to balance your life out. And I think it's more a message than like, that's it, this is the end of it.
Right. Where do you think the imbalance was?
I think I was really stressed out because of the green card application process and not knowing about the certainty of my future. For the first time in my life, I was very uncertain about my future. I've always been kind of like, I have faith in the universe. I trust life. That's what I did. I took a leap of faith when I came here.
Yeah.
But I think I was in a moment in my career and life after being here for about 4 or 5 years that I was like, maybe things are not going to work out. Maybe this is a waste of time. Maybe this is not, I was in a moment of super doubt about my capabilities, my possibilities, why I'm here.
Yeah.
And I think that self-doubt led to this double whammy of vitiligo and uncertain future. But I decided to take the reins in my own hands and do research and find out what I can do to balance my life. Because I was like, no, change your mentality to I'm designed to heal. Change my mentality to things are going to work out. I'm going to get this green card because I believe I'm here for a reason. I refuse to believe I came all this way for nothing. And I think what that did was it set things into motion. I met my wife. We got married. My vitiligo started healing. My green card came. And as soon as it came, I got The Tiger Hunter, which is the movie on Netflix, which got me my SAG-AFTRA Actors Union card, which allowed me to finally audition for big TV shows and movies. So it's amazing how things work when you actually like, no, I choose this path. I choose healing. I choose faith. I choose belief in myself. And then the universe is like, okay, gotcha. Let's align things for you to confirm that, So yeah. It was beautiful to see that happen and unfold. Yeah.
Well, you're an inspiration. In a lot of different ways. No, yeah. Well, thank you. And thank you for sharing your story. This has been awesome. And yeah, and for those of you, check out both his show Sunnyside, which is coming up here September 26th, 9:30 on Thursday nights on NBC, as well as check out The Tiger Hunter. It's on Netflix. It is a wonderful, wonderful movie. I've seen it, I think, 3 times.
Oh my God, I know. That was so fun to go to all the screenings.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So you're welcome. Tell our listeners how they can learn more about you and find out, some of the videos that you do and some of the other stuff that you're doing. Absolutely.
So if you're interested, I'm on social media. You can find all my links on my website, www.sambaschutte.com. That's Samba, like the dance, and last name SCHUTTE.com. And I'm on Instagram at Samba Schutte, on Facebook, Samba Schutte, Twitter at Samba Schutte. And I really encourage you guys to watch Sunnyside, not because, we want good ratings, but just because I think it's one of those shows that is finally dealing with a relevant topic, immigration, people trying to pursue their dreams, but in a very comedic and heartfelt way. And I think it makes us all look very human. So check it out on Thursdays on NBC as of September 26th, and I'll be a very happy camper.
I can't wait. You deserve everything that's happening for you, and I hope it just continues in bucket loads.
Oh, man. Thanks so much, Brian. And thanks for doing this. I think it's really important to have people out there who put out inspiring podcasts and messages to people to remind them, hey, you got this. So
thank you. I'm doing my best. That's all we can do, right?
That's all we can do. Yeah.
Well, until next time, thank you very much, Samba.
No, thank you, Brian.
Thank you for listening to Habits for Success, the podcast. I invite you to learn more about the work that I'm doing at jbrianbenson.com, and I hope that you will check out my new book, the award-winning Habits for Success, Inspired Ideas to Help You Soar, on Amazon via the link habitsforsuccessbook.com. Just remember, the only thing that is standing between you and your goals and dreams is a belief in yourself, a solid foundation, and habits for success. We would also love for you to be a part of our community. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We don't want you to miss any of the potentially life-changing episodes. And we also love making new friends and spreading the goodness. So please feel free to share this podcast with like-minded individuals. Until next time, be safe, be well, and always be yourself.